Listen, I love all things spooky, but going to a haunted museum in real life, I'm not too sure. Hello everyone and welcome back to our channel. I'm your host Emily, and today we're counting down our list of the top 10 cursed items locked away in Zak Bagans' museum. Now for those of you who don't know, Zak is a paranormal investigator who stars on the show Ghost Adventures. He has his own haunted museum in Las Vegas, and it is scary. With that in mind, let's get on with our list. Number 10. Dybbuk Box. In Jewish folklore, a Dybbuk is an evil spirit. Supposedly, someone accidentally summoned the demon while using a homemade Ouija board, but managed to trap it inside the wine cabinet. The Dybbuk Box came to light in 2001 when Kevin Manson purchased it and started having terrible nightmares. He then decided to gift the cabinet to his mother, who suffered a stroke the very day she received it. Not just this, but every person who ever owned that wine cabinet has reported experiencing horrible events. The last owner of the cabinet, Jason Haxton, found out the box possesses a spirit of a malicious Jewish creature called a Dybbuk, who has the ability to haunt and possess the living. Jason not only had nightmares but also developed a strange skin disease and began coughing up blood. At that point, Jason contacted his local rabbis and sealed the Dybbuk back in the box. Jason later, wanting nothing to do with the box, gave the cabinet to Zak to display it in his museum. You actually may have heard of this box before, because in 2018, fans of rapper Post Malone claimed that his spat of bad luck was caused by his contact with the cabinet. Number 9. Charles Manson's cremated ashes. Charles Manson was a criminal who created a cult called the Manson family. It was active in California in the late 1960s and early 1970s. Now the group consisted of approximately 100 followers who had lived an unconventional lifestyle and frequently used psychoactive substances. Now the members of the cult believed that he was Jesus Christ and followed everything he did. Now some members committed a series of 9 deaths at 4 locations in July and August of 1969. In 1971, Manson was convicted of first-degree homicide and conspiracy to commit homicide for the deaths of 7 people, including the film actress Sharon Tate. When Charles Manson died, his body was cremated, and some of his followers actually took fragments of his ashes to keep as a memento. This led to such creations as the Ryan Almighty blood paintings of Manson, in which the eyes were filled in with Charles's own cremains. Painted in Ryan's own blood, the artistry has to be appreciated, but the morbidness of the painting with the cremated ashes included makes for a unique piece, to say the least. This very painting is on display at the museum along with other Charles Manson memorabilia, including a prison-worn outfit, Manson's own TV, and even more ashes in a display case along with Manson's dentures. Number 8. Love Ranch Bed. Zak acquired the bed and bedroom furniture of Bunny Ranch and Love Ranch owner Dennis Hoff, which eerily includes the mattress Dennis died on. Dennis died in that room of a heart attack on October 16, 2018. He was 72 years old. Now this just so happens to be the same mattress Lamar Odom was on when he overdosed 3 years prior in October 2015. Safe to say a lot of bad things have happened on that mattress. Zak says they never swapped out the mattress in the Love Ranch room, and now folks at the legal Nevada brothel believe it's cursed. Zak said that he was told that the bed was cursed, so of course he wanted to add it to his collection. Number 7. Dr. Zak Kevorkian's van. Zak Kevorkian publicly championed a terminal patient's right to die by physician-assisted suicide, embodied in his quote, "Dying is not a crime." It said that he assisted at least 130 patients in ending their lives. For this, he was convicted of homicide in 1999 and was often portrayed in the media with the name of Dr. Death. Zak, who died in 2011, lived out of a van for periods of his life and used it to carry out some of his crimes. Zak found this van and paid $32,500 for the rusty 1968 Volkswagen van, which has been parked in storage at the American Jewelry and Loan Pawn Shop on 8 Mile in Detroit. Now it sits at his museum for all to see. Number 6. Demon House Staircase. From a very intriguing standalone documentary of the same name, the Demon House was an investigation undertaken by Zak and the team at a home in Indiana, where the family claimed that numerous members of the family had been possessed by a spirit. The local police department and even social services within the local area were convinced that the house was some way haunted. From footsteps in the corridor to full-on body possession, the demon house creeped Zak and the team out more than anything we've witnessed on the show before. Now, Zak actually purchased the home for himself for investigations back in 2014 and used it to film the documentary before bulldozing it entirely in 2016, taking pieces of it, including the staircase, back to the haunted museum. Number 5. The house itself. The mansion housing the museum has reportedly been haunted for years. It was built in 1938 and owned by businessman Cyril S. Wenger, and rumor has it dark rituals took place in the basement in the 1970s. There was a pentagram found in the basement, and this is where supposedly a young boy was sacrificed. It is some kind of satanic altar supposedly to invoke the spirits down there, and it's an extremely evil place in the house. During the tour, they try to usher people through the basement as quickly as possible because it's so scary. Now, the mansion at one point was turned into a law firm where strange occurrences continued before the place was purchased by Zak and was eventually converted into Zak Bagans' The Haunted Museum. Number 4. Bela Lugosi mirror. Hollywood star and Dracula actor Bela Lugosi is one of the world's most famous horror actors, but did you know that he once owned a mirror believed to be haunted? It is reported that he was obsessed with practicing a form of clairvoyance, which would involve him staring into inanimate objects to try and conjure messages from spirits. One such object reportedly used by the actor for such practice was a mirror, which hung in Bela's Hollywood Hills home. Zak was given the mirror by the niece of lawyer and B-movie producer Frank Saltry, who formerly lived in the home once owned by Bela. However, Frank tragically died at the home in 1982, and following his death, the producer's family inherited the mirror. Soon after bringing the mirror home, though, the family began to notice that paranormal activity began to occur in their own home. Believing Bela's own practices and her uncle's death to have affected the mirror, she later took the object to paranormal investigator Zak. After taking the mirror from Frank's niece, the star also encountered his own paranormal experiences around the mirror when he investigated his own museum for a 2017 episode of Ghost Adventures. This included seeing a ball of light that appeared on the opposite wall of the mirror, which Zak said traveled across the room and went inside the mirror. Now that sounds extremely haunted to me. Number 3. Gein Cauldron. Gein ended the lives of people and was a grave robber. He created costumes, furniture, and other keepsakes from the bodies of his victims. A police raid on his house turned up masks literally made from human faces, a belt of nipples, and a corset created from a skin torso. To be clear, he never wore these costumes when ending people's lives. Instead, he donned them in the privacy of his home. Now, some masks appeared to be mummified, almost dried out, while others were more carefully preserved. A few had lipstick applied and looked more lifelike, and 4 had been stuffed with paper and hung on the wall of his bedroom, almost like hunting trophies. Leatherface from the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Buffalo Bill from The Silence of the Lambs, and Norman Bates were all based on Ed. Zak paid $2,800 at an auction to take possession of the 25-gallon cauldron Ed used to discard his victims' entrails when he gutted them. The thing had been sitting in a Wisconsin woman's home, used as a flower pot ever since Ed's 1984 death in prison. When she died, her son wisely believed the cauldron was cursed and wanted it gone, so now it's Zak's. Number 2. Peggy the Doll. Warning, looking into this doll's eyes can cause you to have health issues or even get haunted. Please watch at your own risk. Now, Peggy the Doll is a 3-foot-tall doll that has a blonde hair bob with glassy blue eyes and is considered to be the most haunted and dangerous doll in the world. After being purchased at a car boot sale, the owner began having nightmares and felt as though she was being haunted by the doll. She contacted Jane Harris, a paranormal and haunted doll investigator, and eventually sent the doll to her. Jane and her team of psychics began working with the doll, running experiments, or having paranormal sessions with it, and began posting photos and videos of the doll online. That is when she began to receive comments from people who had seen the video, and immediately after viewing began to have chest pain, nausea, and or crippling headaches. So yes, she can haunt you through a screen. Jane has come to the conclusion that the doll is possessed by the spirit of a woman who was born in 1946 who died of a chest-related condition like asthma. Now, Peggy's picture alone is said to cause anxiety, heart attacks, and headaches. Now, Peggy is treated with extreme respect in the museum. She has her own room and a spirit box which is linked up to the room so guests can interact with her if they wish. Many guests have received very strange feedback through the spirit box, including being called out by name and conscious replies to certain questions asked on her guided tours. Now, looking up information about Peggy was absolutely terrifying, and Peggy, if I accidentally looked into your eyes, I am so Sorry. And coming in at number 1 is the Devil's Chair. Ed and Lorraine Warren helped exorcise a possessed boy named David Glatzel in the early 80s. They did many exorcisms on David, and Lorraine said that David levitated, ceased breathing for a time, and even demonstrated the supernatural ability of precognition. During his exorcisms, there was also a rocking chair in the room that would allegedly rock on its own, levitate, and even vanish and reappear. David and Lorraine also claimed to have seen the devil sitting in it. Now, Zak purchased the chair to be on display in his museum, but he had been forced to shut down his haunted rocking chair exhibit. Why? Well, Zak and his friend noticed the door to the chair's room slowly creaked open all by itself. Zak also says a light focused on the chair went out when a power cord was mysteriously yanked out of the wall. 2 hours later, he said a woman collapsed, began bawling, and asked, "What is happening to me?" Shortly thereafter, she fell unconscious, according to Zak, who adds that the woman was upstairs directly above the rocking chair exhibit. Later, Zak said 5 of his tour guides throughout the museum started crying uncontrollably. After just a few tours on opening night, the stress was too much for Zak and it forced him to shut it down altogether for the night. For now, Zak says the haunted rocking chair exhibit is closed until further notice, but in the middle of 2022, YouTubers Sam and Colby, who are paranormal investigators that I love, by the way, were given special permission to not only see or touch the chair, but to sit on it. The results were insane, and let me just say they are braver than me, because wow. Well, that's all for our list of the top 10 cursed items locked away in Zak Bagans' museum. Would you ever want to visit there? Or better yet, have you ever been there? Let us know in the comments down below, and don't forget to like and subscribe while you're down there. I'm your host Emily, and we'll see you next time. Peace.